LULAC, the League of United Latin American Citizens, held a press conference today in Houston, criticizing mass deportation, speaking on the fear it's instilled in some migrants, including President Trump's announcement regarding the use of Guantanamo Bay to house migrants.
The executive orders of mass deportation have caused fear and tears so thick that you can cut it with a knife. And let me explain. The best way to describe this is that when the orders came out and the deportation started, my phone blew up. Folks were telling me, Dr. Lira, we need to do something. We need to do something. Do you see what's happening in the news? Do you see what's happening nationwide? The idea of sending 30,000 to Guantanamo Bay is barbaric.
He goes on to say, while he does not support any crimes committed in the U.S. by anyone, he says President Trump's mass deportation measure lacks compassion. LULAC estimates nearly 11.5 million undocumented migrants reside in the United States.
Words of prayer aim to calm the fear that fills this North Suburban church.
For them to just take like that.
It's where Yelitza Marquina fights through her pain and tears after she says her father, Andres Marquina, was arrested from his Waukegan home early Sunday morning by Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents. She says the 44-year-old grandfather came to the U.S. from Mexico nearly 30 years ago.
They will open the door because they thought maybe one of us were in trouble or something happened to us. He never did anything that would have been nice.
Yulitza, who was born in the U.S., is one of many people now seeking legal help at Pastor Julie Contreras' place of worship.
I had a 4-year-old crying, fearing deportation. That is not making America great again.
Their concerns coming as ICE agents began to sweep through the Chicago area from Berwyn, where this cell phone video was captured, to Albany Park, where a Guatemalan immigrant spoke to ABC7 while asking us to hide his identity.
I opened the curtain and saw that it said police. When I saw the agents get out, they had the building surrounded, so they entered. They went up and started knocking on the doors really loudly. My children started crying.
The fear is that they will detain other people around them, maybe that live there or maybe that just happen to interact with them. And that's why it's important that folks know their rights and they don't have to answer any questions.
Arming people with that education in hopes they're prepared for the possible arrival of immigration enforcement.
I'm already heartbroken myself, and I can't really imagine little kids whose families are breaking apart because of this.
Greetings and welcome back to this next installment of Bible Topics that make you say, hmm. And I'm Robin Sweet Ransom. And as you can see from the opening videos, we're going to talk about a very controversial and emotional topic. And I'm curious as to where you stand on how do you view the deportation of illegal immigrants. What we're seeing now is something that most of us have not seen in our lifetime, if not all of us. Do you stand with these people over here, these protesters? Stop separating families, because there are some people who come here illegally, but then have families where their children are born here, and then they're at risk of being separated from their children. As we saw with that one woman, her father has been here for 30 years. And are you on this side too, where it says immigrants make America great? Is that true? Yes. Immigrants do make America great. Legal immigrants. Otherwise, if you come here illegally, you're at risk of being deported. All right. And this person says our border is not secure. And so it is the government's job to keep their borders secure. But that's the legal way of looking at it. Let's see what God Questions has to say about it as it relates to those of us who want a biblical viewpoint on illegal immigration. What is the biblical solution to illegal immigration? Simple. Don't do it. Obey the laws. Disobedience is not a biblical option. If it is your conviction that an immigration law is unjust, well, then do everything that is legally within your power to get the law changed. You don't jump ahead of others who are in line to become legal and take their spot. You have to do it legally. You can pray, petition, vote, peacefully protest. And as Christians, it says that we should be the first to seek to change any law that is unjust. Do you believe that our laws are unjust? Well, what can you do to change that? Writing your congressperson or what have you, voting a certain way. But at the same time, we are also to demonstrate our submission to God by obeying the government he has placed in authority over us. And we happen to live in America, and this government has borders that it wishes to protect. So perhaps you stand with these protesters who say, stop illegal immigration. Notice it said illegal, not legal. Stop illegal immigration. Return them to sender. What does Christ feel about this? Does he stand with America in enforcing its borders and deporting people? Well, let's go to Romans 13, 1 through 5. It says here, everyone must submit to what? The governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist are instituted by God. Even this government, whether you like it or not. So then the one who resists the authority is opposing God's command, and those who oppose it will bring judgment on themselves, hence deportation. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. So for those immigrants who are here legally, they don't need to be afraid. Do you want to be unafraid of the authority? Do you want to be unafraid of ICE? Do good, get here legally, and you will have us approval. For government is God's servant to you for good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, because it does not carry the sword for no reason. For government is God's servant, an avenger that brings wrath on the one who does wrong. Therefore, you must submit, not only because of the wrath, but also because of your conscience. At the same time, is there a more compassionate view that we can have biblically? Well, Leviticus 19:33 and 34 says, when a foreigner lives with you in your land, you must not oppress him. You must regard the foreigner who lives with you as the native born among you. You are to love him as yourself, for you were foreigners in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Exodus 23 and 9 says, you must not oppress a foreign resident. You yourselves know how it feels to be a foreigner because you were foreigners in the land of Egypt. So God is talking to the Jews who were in Egypt for 430 years as slaves. And then when he set them free with the Exodus, they eventually got their own land, and foreigners or immigrants came to live in their gates. And God told them they were supposed to treat them compassionately, remembering their own history. So let's continue. How do you view the deportation of illegal immigrants? Well, let's talk about the biblical viewpoint and contrast that with the legal viewpoint. Yahweh encourages us to have a compassionate view of these people. Look at these beautiful, precious children. And Jesus said that taking care of the least is like taking care of him. But at the same time, governments do have a right to enforce their laws, even their border laws, their immigration laws. So those seeking to immigrate, even refugees who may be fleeing a horrible country, still must adhere to the laws. And at the same time, though, as individuals, true Christians, we can still show compassion and then ask ourselves, whose laws are we going to obey? Man's or God's law? Or we're supposed to obey God's laws over man's laws when man's laws are wrong. So what will you do? Well, I encourage you to seek God's viewpoint on the legal immigration and the deportation situation that is going on en masse now, which is really heartbreaking. And I don't know anyone who's touched by this. So I can't imagine what it would feel like to know that one of my loved ones or friends or what have you are at risk of being deported, or they are already being deported. But we need to do better with our immigration laws. And at the same time, we have to stop illegal immigration and close the borders now. It says immigrations, yes. Immigrants, yes. Illegals, no. And it is said that a lot of them are coming over here committing crimes. I don't know the stats. What I do know is this. I look forward to the day when we won't have any borders. We won't have devastated countries messed up and controlled by gangs and poverty, which is pushing those people to the land of prosperity. But I have to say this. I've heard people say, we're coming here for the American dream. But I have to challenge you. The American dream is for Americans. It's not for those in other countries. So if you want the American dream, you have to become an American citizen legally. Otherwise, you're stealing what is not for you. Psalm 37, 11 and 29 says, but the humble will inherit the land and will enjoy abundant prosperity. The righteous will inherit the land and dwell in it permanently. I look forward to that time when all of us can live in security and there are no borders that separates us, and never will we be at risk of being deported. And in the meantime, would encourage everyone, like if I am not going to be ICE, so if I come across an illegal immigrant and they need my help, I'm going to help them. I'm going to give them food. I'm going to give them clothing. And I'm also going to try to give them Jesus. Romans 10, 9 and 13 says, if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. So I would encourage them to accept Jesus, because ultimately he is the one who will take care of you regardless of the nation you find yourself in. All right, join me next time on Bible Topics that make you say, please drop some comments and let me know your thoughts on this very controversial and emotional topic. See you soon.